Okay, now we're getting ready to take the front brake rotor off. And basically to do that, what you got to do first, there's a 13mm bolt here in your caliper. You got to take that loose. Once you take that loose, you flip the caliper back like this. Brake pads will come out. Okay, take one brake pad, stick it in here where the caliper lives. If I can get a picture without a big fat shadow on it. Okay, put that in there, and use a big C-clamp like this to compress the caliper until the piston is pushed all the way back inside. This is just basically front brakes 101 on that. Then once you get that done, all your brake pads are out of your way. There's two big bolts on the back side back here that you can feel with your finger. They are 22mm. Okay, so you're going to need a breaker bar. Break those two bolts loose. Now, once you do that, you're ready to take the whole caliper and the carrier off of your front wheel assembly. Okay, so I'm just taking these bolts out here real quick. Then you can drop, here's one of them, boom, like that. I don't have superpowers. I already broke these loose earlier. So, although if you want to think I have superpowers, that is also fine. Okay, so, get these out of here. And I mean, this is similar to pretty much most vehicles. And this work we're doing is on a 90 Vanagon. All the brakes, two-wheel drive brakes from 86 to 91 are pretty much the same. So there is your caliper, carrier. Let it hang there. Say hi to the world. Now you're down to your brake disc. As you can see, this one is like super duper thin. Not much meat there. So we're going to replace it, starting with removing this cap. Okay, this is where your hub nut is and your bearings. They're under this dust cover. Got to take that off first. You can use a chisel and hit it. Try to knock it off that way. I usually like to use an air chisel, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Once I get that off, I will show you how to remove the rotor. Alright, so I actually broke this cap loose with the air chisel. Then I use this big long pry bar that I have. See? Pry against the cap. Oh, look at that. That was so awesome. Now I actually had it off already. Okay, so now what we're looking at, I use my powers again. Now what we're looking at, this is the big hub nut here. Of course, you can use a really big adjustable to break this loose, or you can just use a pair of vice grips, which is fine because you're not reusing this nut. This nut is over. Okay, so never reuse the hub nut unless you're in some kind of emergency situation, like you drove your van down to Venezuela expecting Hugo Chavez to adopt you as his long-lost love child, and he instead is chasing you with helicopters trying to kill you, and you have to change your front brake rotors in the Venezuelan jungle. If that is your situation, I pity you, and also you can reuse this, but if not, you will see that it is messed up. When you put it on there, you have to peen it. That keeps it from turning once it's on. And you know, once you peen it one time, it's pretty much dead. But you can do it again if you're desperate. Okay, so this is also, you need to keep this as your spacer washer. Right underneath of that, here is your outer wheel bearing. Oh, look, it's a girl. Okay, there's that. And then you pull the whole rotor just right off of here, shunk. Hello. You can see here it is. Here's your old bearing. Here's your old seal. They're all garbage. You don't want to reuse any of this stuff. Okay, here is your front wheel spindle. This all needs to be cleaned up. Of course, this is my splash plate here, still hanging in there, looking kind of sad, but still works. So now we're going to clean this up with brake cleaner, wipe it all down good, put about the same amount of grease back on it, clean grease. Pack grease inside the rotor in the middle here, this little area, just enough to make it, you know, kind of moist in there. And we're going to be putting her back together. So let me go ahead and clean that up, and then I will take another video. Okay, now we are ready to put our new brake rotor in. We have cleaned up our spindle. This is the grease we're going to be using. It says multi-purpose, but if you look on here, it says disc brake wheel bearings. You only want to use grease that says disc brake on it, because I have seen so many people use the wrong wheel bearing grease, and then about a year later their wheel bearings are shot. And it's basically because of that. They use the low temperature kind that, you know, is good for the back, and then it breaks down very quickly, and then it's dead. So don't do that. Use only high temperature. It should say wheel bearing disc, wheel bearing grease. Okay. So like I said, I put a thin film of grease on this. Okay, here's your rotor. We got the new seal, the new bearings all in there. You want to put like some grease on the seal, so when it touches, it's going to touch this surface right here. It's not touching something that's dry. And then we want to put some grease here in the middle, just because, whatever, we like to do that. So we put some in there. That's just the way everybody does it. So that's why I saw it on TV. Okay, so I don't know why, I just do it. So you put some in there. Now you're ready to slide the rotor on. Let me go ahead and start doing that. I'll start the video again. Okay, so we got this new one on here. You can tell it's on all the way. You should really use both hands, push it on there straight as possible. It should slide on pretty easy. Once you get it up on there, you take your front outer bearing, make sure there's some grease on the race, push that in. Then you've got this washer that I told you you're going to be reusing. It actually has a little notch in it. You want to line it up right here, put that down, then you got your new nut here. Alright, so now you got it on. Yay! Okay, now you need to adjust it so that it's tight, but it's not so tight that it's going to bind. Okay, so what I normally do, use an adjustable wrench, tighten this nut up. As you're tightening it, you're constantly, with the other hand, which I'm using for the camera at the moment, as you're tightening it, you're turning it. Okay, that way you can kind of feel it. You get tighter, tighter, tighter until it starts dragging a little bit when you turn it. Then you loosen it. And according to the Bentley manual, this washer is supposed to still wiggle when you get it fully seated. So you tighten it down. As you're turning it, you feel it start binding a little bit. That's where the bearings have seated. Then you loosen it up to the point where you can take your fingers and wiggle this washer. And then what I do is give it like a quarter turn after that. Tighten it back. So now I can't wiggle the washer anymore. Then once you get it to that point, it's good to go. You take a chisel or a big screwdriver or something. You put it right here where this notch is. You whack it with a hammer, that locks it in place. Okay? Once you get that done, take your dust cap, put that back on. Then you're back to clean this whole rotor with brake cleaner. You greased it up, and it's going to be nasty. You definitely want to do that. And then you're back to putting your new brake pads on and putting your caliper back on, and then it's done. Okay, so that is changing front wheel bearings, front rotors, in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you need any of these parts, please feel free to get a hold of us at Vanagon. And our phone number is 856-327-4936. Or you can go on our website, www.vanagon.com, vanagon.com. We'll be glad to help you out. Hope you have a great day.